By the gods, what have I become?
The youngest and boldest captain in the Spartan army, Kratos inspired fierce loyalty in his men. Soon his numbers grew to the thousands.
When will it end?
This day, the barbarians to the east numbered in the thousands and descended on the Spartans without mercy. The battle lasted near hours. The soldiers faced a massacre, while their young captain faced the end of his brilliant career. But to Kratos, victory was worth any price, even his soul. The wrecked bodies of those who had gone in search of Pandora's box lay before him.
It is the most powerful weapon a mortal can wield.
The gods hid Pandora's box in here so no mortal would ever claim its power. And yet, year after year, I opened the gate for more and more soldiers and placed more and more bodies on these pyres.
And at once, Kratos knew who was responsible. For this was not the first time he'd seen the ruin Ares and his minions had left in their wake.
But I can see you are determined. May the gods grant you strength to conquer the perils that lay before you. Good luck, Spartan.
Ares! Destroy my enemies, and my life is yours!
That desperate call for aid would come to haunt Kratos for all his days.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Let's Play God of War, the Greek one, not the Norse one. Last time we were in the strangely placed Challenge of Atlas, something that, you know, by all intents and purposes, based on Chains of Olympus, should not exist in this temple, but it did. It seemed like the gods already knew what Atlas's fate was going to be, but, I mean, that's just something I thought of post-recording session, thinking about, you know, what the future God of War games are going to be like and what their plots are, and thinking that, oh my god, I mean, retroactively we can throw in the fate thing from God of War 2 into this game, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, welcome back. We are still in the Temple of Pandora. We're going to be in the Temple of Pandora for a while. Fighting Pandora Temple variants of any and every enemy that we have faced beforehand. That includes the regular undead soldiers, now super armored in this fancy shiny yellow armor that they have, making them very, very powerful and forcing me to use my most powerful magic as soon as possible on them. Something you don't really want to do, but you know, it's God mode, so kind of just have to let loose. Besides, we're gonna come across some chests pretty soon to stock up on our magic and our health again, so it's okay to let loose a little bit here. A lot more difficult to parry in this game than it was in previous God of War titles. Again, this is the first game. Parries aren't introduced in this title until you get to level 3 Blades of Chaos, so you know, it's fine. It's whatever. It is what it is. First game, they didn't fully know the direction of the franchise moving forward, but you know, they got like 95% of the way there. They got 80 to 90% of the way there, let's say. That's a nice generous number to give them. Anyway, we're back in the Rings of Pandora. Enough rambling. Back in the Rings of Pandora, we got the architect's head. We got the head of the son of the architect. And now we're going to, you know, move into the second Ring of Pandora, where we're going to immediately be chased by that giant fucking rolling cylinder thing. That's a classic fucking temple trap right there, if I ever saw one. For this whole bit, you need to find the stairs in this inner ring, which we just passed, and now we're going up. We need to find the stairs, and then we need to actually ride the cylinder thing to that ladder, because that ladder is going to lead us up to the second challenge of the temple. As I said in the last video, the way that the temple videos are going to be divided, every video is going to be a particular challenge of the temple. So the first 3 videos are going to be the first 3 major challenges, and right now in this video we're going to be facing the second major challenge of the temple. Last time it was the Challenge of Atlas, strangely placed because people shouldn't have already known he'd be lifting up the world, but that is what it is. We have a short little cutscene now. Immediately dealing with the giant rolling pin of doom situation there. Yeah. Last time we faced the strangely placed challenge of Atlas, and now this time we're going to be taking on the second major challenge of this temple. So that's exciting. I hope you're all ready for that. Yeah, I mean, this game, I really love it. The aesthetics kind of get pretty samey because you're stuck in the temple, in Pandora's temple for so long that it just starts feeling aesthetically a little bit samey. Even though in terms of combat, in terms of actual things that you're doing, they keep it pretty. They keep it interesting and diverse the entire time. Welcome to the challenge of Poseidon. No water in sight, but first, before we get into it, a cutscene. Oh boy, no water in sight, and we're facing a creature that is normally associated with Hades. These are the Cerberus and the Cerberus Pups. Cerberus Pups are exceptionally dangerous enemies, even though they're not that powerful. The reason is because if you leave the Cerberus Pups alone for long enough, they will transform into full-sized Cerberus. The reason why I'm about to die here is because I'm going to let those Cerberus Pups live too long, and they are going to transform into full-size Cerberus, and in God mode, fighting like 5 of those giant Cerberus at the same time is just, it's unacceptable, and you're going to die very quickly, as you can see. Like, holy shit, look at how many there were. I let the Cerberus Pups live for too long, therefore, I needed to die. There was no way I was gonna get around that. So what you want to actually do is focus on killing all the Cerberus Pups first. If you kill all the Cerberus Pups first, you will only have to deal with the one full-size Cerberus. And that is the best possible situation for you to be in. You do not want to you don't want these Cerberus Pups to all grow into full-size Cerberus, and you're going to be dealing with like 5 or 6 of these goddamn things at the same time. And one of them at a time is already difficult enough in God mode, so I tried to get a refill of my magic there, but it just wasn't letting me, so they just weren't letting me, which meant I was going to have to kill them the old-fashioned way. Thankfully, with level 4 Blades of Chaos, we are powerful enough that it doesn't take that many hits. I didn't get the memo, I really wanted that magic. But thankfully, at level 4 Blades of Chaos, it doesn't take that many hits to kill a Cerberus Pup. The problem is that they're very fast, and they swarm you, so you're gonna be taking hits, and unlike sirens who do like pot shot damage, full-sized, I should say Cerberus Pups do a lot more than just pot shot damage. They can really drain your health down pretty quickly. So be very careful whenever you encounter Cerberus Pups from now on. 9 times out of 10 they're gonna be swarming you with like at least 10 at a time, at least 5 at a time, but probably closer to 10 at a time. Now we have these 2 Cyclopes here. I'm speeding up because I don't want to waste that much magic or take too many risks with this fight, which means keeping my distance and doing a bunch of square, triangle combos to kind of stun them and get them back off a little bit. It's effective, but it is a very, very, very slow method to drain their health. But again, in God mode, you want to be very, very careful. Conserve your health as much as possible. Be aware of when there are chests and when there are no chests. In this case, there was a chest, but I wanted to make sure I could refill my magic and not my health. So I wanted to make sure I wasn't taking any damage from these Cyclopes. Plus, there is the enemies on around the corner of this cliffside here that I wanted to take care of first before I bothered trying to refill my magic. So I really wanted to make sure I didn't waste too much of anything against the Cyclopes, so that way against the guys around the corner here, I would be better prepared to take them on. Then I can go ahead and open up the chest and refill on my magic or my health as need be. In this case, it's just a goddamn ton of archers here that are all just firing at you. Those are exploding arrows, so even if they don't directly hit you, if they're close enough, then it's going to do some damage. It is set up that you need to push the block close enough to the archers to, you know, to actually safely hit them with the Zeus's lightning bolt. But as long as you time it correctly, you can be pretty far away from them and just start hurling the lightning bolt at them. The block is there as a suggestion of what you can do, but really you can keep your distance and hurl the lightning bolt at them and kill them. I also refilled my magic, so I would have enough to deal with the Cerberus Pups here, because again, you don't want to leave the Cerberus Pups alive for too long. You absolutely don't want to do that, otherwise you're going to transform into a giant full-size Cerberus, and that's going to be a big problem for you. At the end of this whole cliffside battle climb situation, you're going to just deal with some archers and Cerberus Pups. Again, prioritize Cerberus Pups, kill them as quickly as possible. You don't want them to transform into the full-size Cerberus, or you are really going to be well and truly screwed here. Thankfully, again, with level 4, even level 3 blades, it's not going to take that many hits, but level 4 is more recommended, as the faster you can kill these things, the better. You can block all the attacks that Cerberus Pups do, but again, you really don't want to waste your time with them. If they transform, it's as good as a death. It took me a while to kill this final archer because it was difficult for me to climb up the ledge, so I just skipped a little bit of the battle till I actually killed him. But with that done, we can actually move on and move away from that first encounter to open up the challenge of Poseidon, a god normally associated with the sea, but there is no water in sight here so far, and there won't be for a little while. Our first optional challenge here is opening these red orb chests. You have to be very, very quick and roll back into the middle room to be able to open the chest in time. Otherwise, you will be impaled by the spikes and instantly die. So it's a risk, but each of these chests have a ton of red orbs. So, you know, I say it's worth it to try it. As long as you're quick, immediately roll back, you'll be fine. And I think that's the last one. I think after this, now we actually have the exit of this particular little room here. Yeah. Very nice of Pathos Verde to give us the opportunity to get more red orbs. I mean, tried to kill us while we do it, but still. Very nice of him to give us the opportunity to collect more red orbs. Very, very kind of him. Now we're going to be introduced to new variants of undead soldiers. These are undead soldiers with swords and sides. These guys are deceptively kind of quick. You can do the classic launching them in the air to kill them like you would any other undead soldier. The problem is that they are a lot bulkier than regular soldiers. One circle QTE is not going to be enough to kill them. It takes 2 circle QTEs to actually kill them. It is recommended you do the launch method, but they can block it or they can just dodge away from it. Sometimes they don't even launch up at all, which leaves you open and vulnerable to attacks that they could do. They are the most dangerous type of regular soldier in the game. They're not as powerful. Well, I should say they're as powerful as the armored regular soldiers. As the regular armored Pandora's Temple variant of soldiers, they're about on par in terms of strength with them. The difference is that they are a lot trickier to actually land hits on. They can block stuff. They can block attacks that you do, and they're a lot quicker in terms of attacking you, and a lot less obvious with their tells as opposed to regular undead soldiers, even the super armored Pandora's Temple variant of soldiers. So they can be tricky, but they can still be dispelled by the same strategy of launching them up into the sky and pressing the circle again and again and again to just hit them again until they die. So dangerous. Definitely dangerous. They are about on par with the super yellow armored version of the base enemies. At this point, I'm powering up Zeus's Fury because we have enough. Zeus's Fury is very cheap to power up, and again, super useful because you can use it when you're at a sliver of magic compared to everything else, and you'll get results. I mean, you can technically use Medusa's Gaze when you're at a sliver of magic too, but you probably won't be freezing anything in the very short amount of time you can use Medusa's Gaze. So, it is a good idea to level up Zeus's Fury, the lightning bolts, as soon as possible. This is where the second Muse key is. There are a total of 4 Muse keys hidden throughout the 3 main challenges of Pandora's Temple, but you only need 2. And once you've collected 2, the other 2 chests that would have originally held Muse keys now will just have a bunch of red orbs and green orbs and magic and all that stuff. It's the same thing that happens once you collect all of the Gorgon's Eyes or Phoenix Feathers. Once you collect all the Gorgon's Eyes and Phoenix Feathers, chests that would have normally contained them now just contain a whole bunch of red orbs. As it's been the staple of every God of War game, except in this case, in the original God of War, there are so many white chests that there are a whole bunch more of these, I call them extra white chests, the ones that never would have held a Gorgon's Eye or Phoenix Feather in the first place, instead always just held red orbs, along maybe with some green orbs and magic orbs and stuff. I don't know why the original God of War has so many more white chests compared to other titles, but, you know, I mean, that's just what it is. At this point, I'm speeding up because, I mean, Minotaurs, we know how to fight them. They're very bulky, but no real surprises there. No real surprises in terms of what the strategy employed is. It was unfortunate that I didn't have much magic, but I had to waste them all with the undead soldiers with the swords in the sides. But now we're going to move on to an interesting new challenge. A challenge that will need to demonstrate to the gods sacrifice, lack of empathy, complete and total devotion that you believe in greater deities than yourself, that you are willing to give up your humanity and who you are as a person to be part of a greater whole. That is what this next challenge is about. And that is what Kratos has been devoting himself to for 10 years. All in an effort to gain penance. But the gods don't really care about humanity. Not really. And the only way people are going to be able to pass this challenge is to not care. To decide that what you want is to be just less than human. Because for all of their incredible power, gods are... For all their incredible power and for all the divinity that they tout, gods are... Gods are cruel. And that is what God of War is all about. Just breaking down the myths and showing us that gods are very cruel. That gods demand people to be the most and the least of themselves, all at once. That the only way we're going to get past this particular room is to willingly kill somebody. And Kratos has killed people before, obviously. People, but mostly monsters. Usually for a greater cause, and now he's just doing it because he truly feels he has nothing left. Truly feels like he has to forget who he used to be.
Oh, thank the gods you've come. Break these bars. Get me out of here. What are you waiting for? Let me out. We can find our way back to Athens.
The gods demand sacrifice. From all of us.
Oh, please. No. No. No, please. Let me out of here.
Ultimately, Kratos has to learn that the only way he's going to get past his greatest mistake, and I'll talk about this challenge itself in a little bit. The only way he's going to get past his greatest mistake is not through paying a debt. It's going to be through accepting what he did. Some level of self-acceptance as to who he is as a person. Anyway, this challenge. Killing the guy in the cage by sacrificing him to the gods. It is an annoying little challenge. Basically, we have to push this cage all the way to the top of the hill. We have to deal with the trickiest, most difficult type of soldiers in the game, the ones with the swords in the sides. It took me so long to do this that I'm speeding through it because holy shit, it's so difficult. In God mode, these guys do a lot of damage. They don't die to one quick QTE. You don't want to waste too much time fighting them because they are infinite. There isn't like a limited amount of these guys. They will just keep spawning repeatedly forever until you die or until you actually complete this task. So at this point, I'm trying to get them to back away so I'll be able to have some space to go into the small room and actually finish the sacrifice task. Jesus, it is a very difficult thing to do, and I did end up dying once.
On your humanity. Don't do this, please.
Regardless, though, difficult as that challenge is, once we do it. We kill the guy, and we can finally move forward. And we can finally get into the part of the challenge of Poseidon that... Hey, everybody. Audacity kind of crapped out, so this part of the recording got cut just a few seconds. Just wanted to say, we're about to enter the part of the challenge of Poseidon that actually has to do with Poseidon, the Lord of the Seas. That's it. Enjoy the rest of the episode. Bye-bye. Ascension, we haven't been able to swim underwater yet. Now, we're about to finally get the ability to do that. With Poseidon's trident, we now have the ability to breathe underwater indefinitely, and thus we can allow ourselves to explore under the water, under the sea, as you may refer to it as. So at this point, the rest of the challenge is going to be, there's still going to be plenty of combat, but it's going to be a lot more exploration heavy as we're going to be taking to the bottom of the sea now, and exploring. We can finally dive, we can finally do the R1 dash thing. We can swim up and down, and now we're going to be taking the rest of this video to explore underwater. I really like the plot of the first God of War. It feels the most... Well, it's been said a lot in YouTube videos, but it feels the most Greek myth of all the God of Wars. With the exception of 3, I think God of War 3 is like the most Greek myth tale of all 3 of them. If only because I truly like to believe that God of War 3 is a myth about the end of mythology. But this is just a classic, hero's tale of somebody who's doing everything he can for some degree of penance, for some degree of repentance, believing that forgetting is better than forgiving. It'll take him 3 games before he can finally get to the point where he can forgive himself, but right now he's working very, very hard on the forgetting aspect, thinking that both of them are the same thing. I'm going on about Kratos' little character arc of the Greek games. This room is... ooh, boy. It's brutal. I don't think any of these Cerberus pups ever actually transform into full-blown Cerberus in this particular room, But holy shit, they do so much damage. They are so dangerous. Not a fan. Not a fan of this room at all. There are so many Cerberus Pups. Hey everybody, future mega fan here once again. Yeah, the commentary crapped out once more. Ugh, I really don't know why this particular session was so bad. My computer is really not in a good place right now. I'm really gonna have to get a new one or do something. Anyway, I hope this hasn't ruined the experience too much for you. Please enjoy the rest of the video. There should be no more major interruptions. Thank you again. Bye-bye. Under the sea. I mean, you would think for the Challenge of Poseidon they would have done this for us. We would have immediately we would immediately start with this part, but I guess not. To be fair, undersea exploration is probably the weakest aspect of exploration in God of War, so on that level I kind of get why they held off so long to give us underwater explorations in God of War. At the same time, though, I mean, this is the Challenge of Poseidon. You would really expect that this would just be the main thing from the beginning, exploring under the water, but whatever. Before we can actually get to the undersea kingdom part of this whole challenge, we do have to deal with more harpies and a full-grown Cerberus. So I'm just speeding through the harpy fighting because again, we fought harpies. We know how they work. God of War 1, you know, a lot more combat scenarios than in other God of War games. A lot of them not as interesting because a lot of them is just me doing what I'm doing now, just keeping my distance and doing square, square, triangle again and again and again. And Jesus, how damage spongy the enemies are. I've been doing the square, square, triangle thing at times 300 speed now, and I'm still not done fighting the goddamn dog. And I think there's gonna be another dog that pops up right after you kill this one. So that's, ugh. Really like God of War 1, but you know, it's clear that it feels just a little bit off compared to the rest of the God of Wars. In terms of its pacing, in terms of exploration elements, in terms of where combat challenges are placed. It feels just a little bit off compared to everything else. But again, like 80 to 90% of the way there. And any shortcomings this game has, they very obviously, they very, very clearly just deal with all of them by the time you get to God of War 2, and then the franchise just becomes what it is until Ascension. And then it reinvents itself again, and it just is amazing again. So, you know, from humble beginnings, they made something that was already like 80 to 90% of the way there, and then they got to 100%, and then they just stayed there. It's very, very admirable just how they managed to do this. Oh, now there's a fucking magic chest. I'm also not a fan of the inappropriately placed chests sometimes. It's been a while since we had a magic chest. I messed up in the sacrifice task. I had really wanted to get a refill of magic before heading into the giant room. That way I would have an easier time with the encounters with the Cerberus Pups and the giant Cerberus dog. But I just had a really bad run with the sacrifice task, and I just made it so that I could not open the chest and get a magic refill. Down here in the underwater sections, we have a new type of collectible, the Naiads. Kratos can make out with them, and sometimes, not all of them, but I think like 2 of them act like chests, and will actually give Kratos a collectible. This is actually where we're going to finish collecting our phoenix feathers, not through white chests, but through the Naiads. 2 of the Naiads, I believe, have collectibles associated with them, and both of them are phoenix feathers. The other 2 potentially had collectibles associated with them too, but I've already collected all the Gorgon's eyes, so, you know, that's where we are with that. The first Naiad doesn't give you anything. The second Naiad is hidden behind this wall, and this one does give you a collectible. So it is in your interest to find this particular Naiad right here. and get yourself your penultimate Phoenix Feather. Again, the other Naiad, the last Naiad that we're going to encounter, is the one that has the final Phoenix Feather of the game. This is an optional side area. You don't have to come here. This is not an example of a wide linear area. The Challenge of Poseidon, I don't think, actually has any wide linear areas that I was discussing before in previous videos. This area is just an optional side area that you can go to for a Muse Key. If you haven't already collected both of the Muse Keys, there is a chest hidden here where you can collect another Muse Key. Whether this be your first one or your second one, there is a Muse Key chest here. It's actually right behind this wall. Got a whole bunch of pots, a la Legend of Zelda. And this chest would have originally contained a Muse Key, but since we have already collected both Muse Keys, now we just had red orbs. The actual direction you want to go is this way. Just double checking to make sure there wasn't anything there. You know, ABE, always be exploring. I do miss, again, quite a few red orb chests, including in the room that we're about to come up to and surface in. There are some hidden walls that I would never have considered looking for in that room that... I mean, it's just crazy where some of the red orb chests are in this game. Again, the collectibles video that I'm going to have at the end of this playthrough, and the link to the collectibles guide that I sourced some footage from. Like, see, I'm jumping around here thinking that there's nothing here, but the walls at the far end actually are breakable walls that have hidden red orb chests. It's crazy. This encounter is very difficult, very long. I died again. Shame. This is the last combat-related death of the video, I believe, because after this, I do die 2 more times, but it's an environmental puzzle as opposed to sucking at combat. Very difficult. If you have Rage of the Gods here, I'd recommend using it. If you can get enemies to back off for long enough, I would recommend opening the chest to get a refill on your magic or your health. The chest to get a refill on your magic or your health in mid-combat. It's a very difficult thing to do in God of War 1, but if you can do it, I would recommend doing it. It's a strategy you can do in almost any God of War. Anytime you're in a combat arena and there's chests, I would recommend trying to open them up. If you're, if you find yourself in a difficult situation. In this case, I'm trying to, but there aren't that many enemies left. I really could have just not tried to open them. I'm being very careful with my parries, by the way, because unlike in other God of Wars, parrying in this game, you're not invincible while you do it. You are still open to getting hurt. And I'm going to keep saying it again. The super armored, yellow armored Pandora's Temple variants of basic enemy soldiers are very, very difficult. They are about on par with those very tricky sword and scythe enemies that we fought before the sacrifice task and were introduced a little before that. Very difficult, especially when they're so goddamn plentiful, but that is the last difficult combat encounter of this particular challenge. Any other deaths that I have, it's all going to be environmental puzzles. At this point, we're basically done with the hard part of the challenge of Poseidon. And I'm speeding through because we already know what this is. We already know these spikes and stuff are closing in around us. We know. Very easy puzzle. Very easy little challenge. We just make our way back to the beginning really quick, and here we go. Now we're in new territory once more. Challenge of Poseidon, as I mentioned before, is one of the few areas of the game that doesn't feature wide linear design philosophies. So you don't need to worry too hard about that. Probably because of the underwater section, they didn't want you to focus on getting lost or having to backtrack or stuff. That particular naiad does not give you anything, but she is strategically placed underneath this hole to show you that there is a secret area here with a whole bunch of red orb chests. So feel free to enjoy the rewards of this little bonus room. No enemies here, no difficult combat challenges, just a freebie. Going to the right, of course, takes us towards the exit of this place. But before we head down the hole, you want to break this wall to Poseidon's, to your right, Poseidon's left, and make out with this naiad, because this naiad contains our final Phoenix Feather of the game. That is our 18th and final Phoenix Feather, and thus our third magic upgrade. We also have both Muse Keys, which is going to get us into the secret area for the bonus 4th health and 4th magic upgrade of the game, so that's exciting. This is a very difficult environmental puzzle. I make it more difficult than it seems. I died 2 times. Yeah, I didn't do a good job with this environmental puzzle. I didn't time it well. I didn't hold R1 for long enough, and then that thing just takes me and just kills me 2 times. So, yay! By the way, every time you die, you have to make out with the naiad again, because the game doesn't save you collecting the final Phoenix Feathers. So, if you die to this particular moving wall section here, be very careful to not forget the Phoenix Feather, because you're going to have to collect it every single time you die. But this time, Master Swimmer, Olympic Swimmer Kratos is going to get it right, because goddamn, I didn't want to die a 3rd time here. There we go. And now we're basically at the end of the challenge of Poseidon. We still have 1 more room left, but it's a very, very simple room with some minimal combat. Seemingly, the challenge of this room, according to Pathos Verdes III, is that we're supposedly stuck in here forever, unless we can find the secret exit. Secret exit's not that hard to find. Goddamn, this architect was a crazy person. Dedicating his whole life to this, his children dying. We'll find out what happened to his wife way further later on, and we'll also see just how his devotion falters as we move on with this temple. It's good environmental storytelling, just the madness that befalls the architect of this place. Not a fun story, but a classic Greek tragedy reminder that devotion to the gods doesn't guarantee you any kind of a satisfying life. Lack of devotion to the gods also doesn't guarantee you a satisfying life. It's a life where people are either in fear or just living at the commands of greater beings greater than them, which was enough to satisfy people for a time, obviously. It's why mythology was made in the first place, to explain the unexplainable things of the universe surrounding them. Eventually, though, people move on from needing mythology to explain their life and aspects of their life, and that's why I really like the God of War franchise, the Greek mythology God of War franchise. We start with a classic Greek myth tale, that obviously not one that ever existed before, one that was invented by Santa Monica Studios. But we start off with something that feels like a classic Greek myth tale that evolves into its own kind of myth about why myth ended. Again, that's just my opinion of how it all feels, especially by the time we get into God of War 3 and what that game's all about. it just really feels to me like it is a myth about the end of myth. Even if it wasn't intended to be that, it really does feel like a myth about why mythology ended. So, we're basically trapped in this room. According to the Pathos Verdes III, there's only one secret way out that the Queen knows. Basically, just swim underwater. There's going to be an elevator here underneath one of these platforms that I didn't get in the first time because I was not fast enough. But the second time I got in. Basically, just make your way in, and that's it. This will take us to the exit of the Challenge of Poseidon and back to the Rings of Pandora. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this rambling, rumbling video. I will see you all next time where we take on the third challenge of Pandora's Temple, the longest one yet, and one that will feature a new boss. Finally, after so many hours, it's time to actually take on a brand new boss. I will see you all next time. Hope you enjoyed. Bye-bye.